Acting Deputy President. Last week was a good week for the Parliament and, more importantly, for the Senate. We held up our end of that grand bargain and carried out the will of the Australian people by legislating for marriage equality as reflected in the national result. We witnessed the best of this place and what can be achieved when parliamentarians work together for the people they serve. Our hope is that the other place can emulate the respectful and efficient manner in which this place carried out passing historic reform. While many of us will be acknowledged for pushing marriage equality forward, millions of Australians whose names and faces we will never know had a hand in this significant chapter in our nation's great history. Their energy, passion and commitment not only gave the path to marriage equality its trajectory, it imbued it with force. Someone once said there is nothing greater, nothing more human than thank you. And I'd like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to those who helped pave the way on this significant reform. When the Australian Marriage Law Postal Survey was announced, the Australian Electoral Commission added more than 98,000 new people to the electoral roll, 65,000 of them who were aged 18 to 24. What an achievement. Thank you to all those Australians, however you voted, for participating in this democratic process which resulted in the biggest electoral mandate our country has ever seen. The Equality campaign was already in full swing before the postal survey forms were mailed out. The team delivered an upbeat, precise and inclusive campaign based on those cherished Australian values of equality and fairness. What I was most proud of was that the Yes campaign ran on a platform of positivity. They ran a campaign that connected people, started honest, heartfelt and at times difficult conversations, and reassured Australians they had nothing to fear from marriage equality. Many hands make light work, and so I say to the countless campaigners who made phone calls, knocked on doors, spoke to relatives, friends, neighbours and colleagues, we cannot say thank you enough. Thank you to those involved in the Equality campaign especially. Many thanks to Tim Gartrell. I know of Tim from the other side of politics, but he played a straight bat and steered the Yes campaign in the most positive of directions. To the co-chair of Australian Marriage Equality, Alex Greenwich, and co-chair of the Equality Campaign and Director of Legal Advocacy at the Human Rights Law Centre, Anna Brown, your advocacy, your trust throughout this campaign has been remarkable and I'm grateful. Thank you for being the voices of a community who needed to be heard. Janine Middleton, co-chair of Australian Marriage Equality, your experience, professionalism and compassion gave this debate a new perspective. Thank you to Professor Kerryn Phelps and Jackie Stryker-Phelps. Thank you for fighting for marriage equality over many, many years. Tom Snow and Brooke Horn for the generosity of your precious time and resources over many years. You helped keep our spirits buoyed and kept gas in the tank of the campaign. Corey Earlham and Lee Carney for providing the highest quality of legal insight and support, and again for your trust day in, day out. Claire Dawson, who led the coordinated parliamentary campaign across the political divide. Clint McGilvray, who carried the winning message for the campaign. Adam Noble for being the brains behind one of the country's best digital campaigns. Paddy Batchelor, who directed one of Australia's largest volunteer field efforts with more than 15,600 volunteers phoning over 1 million homes and knocking on over 100,000 doors. Helen Ross Brown and Kirk Marcelina, creators of the moving imagery that helped tell so many impactful and important human stories to other Australians. Chris Pycroft, who brought so many LGBTI and mental health groups together for marriage equality. Ashley Hogan, who managed tens of thousands of inquiries and provided quality control for all material. Frances Boone, who supported so many faith and multicultural groups to demonstrate that marriage equality is a key faith and multicultural value. And Shane Lord, who has set and run all the merchandise for the campaign and personally managed the campaign shop in Sydney. Now you might wonder what a sprightly Irishman might have to do with marriage equality in Australia. Tiernan Brady was responsible for the successful Yes result in the Irish referendum on this very issue. Tiernan's leadership, focus and ebullience kept the Yes campaign on track, and he found and shared human stories that changed attitudes of people throughout our country. From Carnarvon to Cairns, Bunbury to Balmain, Tiernan travelled to almost every corner of this great land to get the message out. If Australia legalises marriage equality, the sun will come up the next day, and the only thing that will happen is that more people in loving, committed relationships will be able to have those relationships recognised. Thank you, Tiernan, for guiding us through this marathon, always with a smile on your face and a spring in your step. One of the fundamental values of the Liberal Party is that of freedom of choice and freedom of the individual. Our party's president, the Honourable Nick Greiner AC, argued movingly several months ago about marriage as a classic Conservative issue, reflecting on his family and how one of his children could marry but the other could not. From one Liberal to another, thank you, Nick, for your courage and forthrightness during this debate. Former Acting Federal Director of the Liberal Party, Andrew Bragg, leapt into action and led the Liberals and Nats for Yes campaign to encourage those within the coalition to vote yes. We owe Andrew a debt of gratitude for his commitment and his leadership. I'm so glad I've made a trusted friend in Andrew. To all those Liberals and Nationals who represented the coalition at rallies, forums and booths, I thank you for your devotion to and advocacy for the yes vote. Christine Forster is a tower of strength and a force to be reckoned with. In the face of such public scrutiny, she still held the conviction to stand up when it counted. Christine and Virginia, we cannot acknowledge your role in this national conversation enough. Thank you to Ian Thorpe and Magda Zabansky, who put their private selves into the public sphere and showed tremendous courage, showing their authentic selves and advocating for marriage equality. Western Australia is my home state, and as I've previously noted in this place, my home state recorded a clean sweep in the postal survey, 16 federal seats out of 16 federal seats. This wouldn't have been possible without the tenacity of West Australians who drove the WA Equality campaign. The WA Yes Committee was instrumental in ensuring the coordination and action in the West for those who supported marriage equality. We thank Ian Courtlang, Ian Campbell, Paul Everingham, Deidre Wilmot and Steve Harris for their organisation, steadfastness and enthusiasm during this campaign. Thank you for rallying the troops across Western Australia. I'd also like to recognise the invaluable work of Emma Gibbons, Paul Benson, Suzette Morris and Bevan Marwick, whose energy and eagerness for change propelled West Australians to get out to vote. And a very special acknowledgement to those young Liberals who showed courage, real courage, the real courage of their convictions. Jack, Joshua, Francois, Matthew and Julian, I salute you for your bravery. To Mick Skender from Worldwide Printing, many thanks and appreciation for your agility and efficiency, especially with those last-minute printing requests. When the Parliamentary Yes Committee was formed to ensure the integrity of the observation process, it was heartening that so many of my parliamentary colleagues put their hands up to help. I'm grateful that they chose me to be the convener of that group. It was imperative that we worked diligently and expeditiously to ensure the observation process was fair and accurate to reflect the attitudes of the Australian community with relation to marriage equality. I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of my parliamentary colleagues Tim Wilson, Trent Zimmerman, Terry Butler, Gillian Hill and Senators Darren Hinch, Louise Pratt, Janet Rice and Skye Kokoschky-Moore. The observation process was long and at times exhausting. Despite the endless hours and often monotonous nature of the work, over 600,000 coded survey forms were observed by both yes and no official observers. While our views may have differed on the issue of marriage equality, I was happy to see that differences could be put aside between those observers to ensure our democratic process was quality controlled. From Team Yes, I'd especially like to thank our 62 observers, many of them who gave up precious time or travelled from great distances to do their part. We cannot repay the hours, days and weeks you gave up to make sure an important aspect of this process was executed properly, but I hope the result was worth it alone. The observation process would not have been possible without our lead observer, Jared Lomas. Jared spent weeks after weeks wrangling excited yes voters, emailing updates, filling in rosters, making calls and observing survey forms himself to uphold the integrity of the postal survey process. He set the bar from our side and led by example. Professional, calm under pressure, always courteous. What a fantastic job you did, Jared, and we thank you for your exceptional leadership and stability, and everything you did worked. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and sincerely thank the most important of our institutions, this Australian Parliament, who in some measure played an important role in this very important historic reform. On behalf of everyone involved in the Yes campaign, can I congratulate them on a tremendous outcome.
Senator Urquhart.